This week was a really good week overall. Working for hours without even checking the clock. I found myself in a flow state. I've taken some annual leave off next week for a big filming job coming. I'm really excited, but also nervous. It feels like my life is finally getting closer to changing, but I also notice myself slipping in some areas. I went out over this weekend and I went and filmed a little bit for Full Throttle. I feel like this is the best work that I have done so far. I'm actually happy with what I produced. I decided to go out without the gimbal and just focus on handheld, and it ended up turning out really good, especially with my new camera that I'm using. It did a lot better than what I was previously using as well. Not only that, but I've become a lot more comfortable behind the camera. I know when it comes to faster movements that I need to put the FPS up to 50, and if I want to do slow motion, I need to turn it to 100 FPS. It was only about a month ago that I bought this new camera, and now I'm really comfortable behind it and I can focus on just capturing what shots I need to capture rather than stressing about what settings I need to adjust. Looking back at all the previous work that I've done, I can see that this is noticeably better than everything else I've produced, and it made me realize how far I've come with my filmmaking. I haven't actually created any reels or any videos yet for the Full Throttle work, but even just how the photos turned out and how I color graded them, I think they look awesome. Now, this week I felt extremely close to God. At the start of the week, I found myself angry, yelling at co-workers and just acting rude. This is where God really shined through, because I wasn't the type of person that I was trying to be. I'm trying to be a better person, being more like God, and how I was acting just wasn't right. I went home that night and I had some time to think about it, laying in bed before I went to sleep. I was thinking about how I need people to see God shine through my actions rather than me just speak about him, see it through the way that I act. So the next day I went into work. I apologized to my co-worker. I told her that I was sorry and that I shouldn't have acted the way that I did. I was rude to someone else, so I know that they've been going through a tough time and a breakup, so I decided to reach out and tell them that I'm here if they needed to speak. Another thing that I did was that I bought everybody coffee, and coming home from that day, I felt way more at ease, so much more peace, and was really happy that I chose to be more like God and live the way that he would want me to live, be the way that he would want me to be. Now this week I'm still struggling with my journaling and my reading. Not only that, but my sleep has also became pretty bad too. Now, in saying that, I was experimenting with coffee, and one afternoon I had it a little bit too late, around 2, and I just couldn't get to sleep. And that was the first time that I'd had a coffee in years. So all week I was struggling with getting my sleep on track, but that's no excuse for not doing the things that need to be done. I found that I was barely posting this week despite having my goal of posting 2 times a day. It's very difficult to keep up at 2 posts a day when I'm trying to raise my quality. So I need to take some time aside and create systems that allow for me to cut my time down from maybe 3 or 4 hours to an hour a reel. Not every reel has to be 100%. Some reels can still have good quality, but maybe I take less time on the captions. Instead of doing word for word, I do phrase by phrase. I found Instagram scrolling starting to creep back in, and this is something that I hate. I never used to have social media because I found myself always comparing myself to others or constantly scrolling. But now that I have it, because I'm trying to grow my own personal brand and document my own life, it's a necessity for me to have. So I need to make sure that I'm not using it for the wrong reasons. And scrolling on Instagram made me struggle with my lust that I've been trying to overcome. So now in future, social media needs to be create, post, and then leave. Whenever I find myself on social media, I need to question why I'm on there. Is there a reason? If not, close it and do something more productive. Now, we went to Muay Thai 3 times this week. We had gym mostly off except legs on the weekend. And because my sleep was so poor, I found it a struggle to get up in the mornings just to go to gym. It really shows that small habits can impact the rest of your day massively. I experimented with coffee this week and I found that it's a very productive tool that I can use, but I don't need it every day. And I also found that if I have more than 1 cup of coffee, I get way too overstimulated and I'll end up having a massive crash, and it is not good for me. So I'm gonna use it strategically on days where I know that I'll have a very high workload or a very long editing session. Saturday, I found myself scrolling all afternoon and I ended up slipping when it came to my lust, and I was feeling really down about it. I decided to go to bed early. I started thinking about the Lord and I decided to go for a run Sunday morning. I decided to go for a run that was way longer than I'd usually go. And every time I decided that I wanted to stop, I told myself, all right, you might not want to do this for yourself, but why don't you do it for him? It pushed me. It made me run way further than I'd ever ran before. Every time that I was starting to feel sore or feel tired, I ended back at that thought, because everything that he does for us, this little bit of pain now is nothing compared to the amount of pain that he went through for us. So I kept on running. I came home and I checked how many kilometers it was that I ran. Now, usually I run about 3K. I've never ran anything longer. I checked and I did just over 6Ks. It shocked me. I honestly couldn't believe that I'd ran that far, because that's double the length that I usually run. A big realization that I've had is that I'm starting to realize that I'm not who I used to be anymore. All of the work that I'm putting in, constantly trying to grow, constantly trying to improve, is all paying off. But most importantly, developing a stronger faith and remembering that JC is at the center of my heart. He has helped me to transform and do a complete 180 on who I used to be. But following God doesn't mean that I'm never going to make mistakes, because not a single one of us are perfect. But what it does mean is that every time I make a mistake, I recognize that I have, and I try my best to do better. I take responsibility, I correct it, and I keep on moving forward. That transformation is what rebirth means to me. I want people to see what I believe through the way that I live, how I work, treat people, and respond when I fall. Transformation isn't never slipping. Transformation is knowing that when you slip, you refuse to stay there. I want people to look at my life and ask, what changed? And I know exactly what my answer is.